People often say that children are blank pages and the people who nurture them are the ones who will draw on those pages. This is absolutely correct, but in history, there are children who, due to a distorted mentality or impulsive thinking, commit heinous crimes. Today, we'll explore some of the ugliest stories involving children. Erik Smith was born on January 22, 1980, and was arrested by the police at the age of 13 for the murder of 4-year-old Derek Roby on August 2, 1993. Erik was riding his bike on the way to a summer camp at a local park when he saw Derek and lured the boy into a nearby wooded area. There, Erik strangled Derek, threw rocks at his head, and assaulted him with a tree branch. Around 11 a.m., Derek's mother, Doreen, went to the park to pick up her child, only to realize that he had never arrived. After a few hours of investigation, Derek's body was found. Erik was arrested on August 8, 1993, after confessing to the crime. He was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 9 years to life in prison. Erik was diagnosed with panic disorder and had been often bullied as a child. These factors may have contributed to his barbaric actions. Erik received clemency in October 2021 and, after 27 years in prison, was finally released in February 2022. On October 21, 2009, Alyssa Bustamante, a 15-year-old girl, killed her 9-year-old neighbor, Elizabeth Olton. Alyssa asked her sister to lure Elizabeth into a forest, where she cut Elizabeth's throat and then continued to stab her. Finally, Alyssa buried Elizabeth in a hole that had been dug 5 days earlier, proving that she had planned the murder. Alyssa had serious psychological problems and an unstable family life. She had even attempted suicide multiple times. Despite this, the court decided to punish Alyssa as an adult, and she received a life sentence. Alyssa said she simply wanted to know what it felt like to kill someone. Mary Bell was born on May 26, 1957. When she was only 11 years old, she killed 2 children by strangulation. Mary's mother, who worked in the red light district, gave birth to her when she was just 17 years old. She frequently tried to kill her daughter through various means, such as letting Mary fall out of a window or giving her a handful of pills, even when Mary was only 4 years old. Her mother also forced Mary to entertain men. In May 1968, before her 11th birthday, Mary strangled 4-year-old Martin Brown. 2 months later, Mary and another girl strangled 3-year-old Brian Howe. Police reported that Mary had also engraved a faint letter on the victim's stomach. In 1968, Mary was convicted of manslaughter. The court evaluated her psychological state and determined that Mary exhibited symptoms of psychopathy. At just 6 years old, an age when children are just entering first grade and starting to learn how to write, Carl Mahan became a murderer. One day in 1929, during an argument with an 8-year-old boy named Cecil over a piece of scrap metal Cecil had stolen, Cecil slapped Carl in the face. Carl then ran home, climbed up on a chair, grabbed his father's shotgun, and turned around to shoot Cecil with just one shot. Carl became one of the youngest murderers in Kentucky, and maybe even in America, because he was so young. Carl was tried and convicted of manslaughter, but because of his age, Carl's parents were held responsible. His father went to jail, and his mother was exiled from her homeland. Carl continued to live in freedom before dying in 1958 at the age of 35. On March 29, 2000, 6-year-old Dedrick Owens shot a girl in his class, Kayla Rowland, at Buell Primary School. The incident was witnessed by the homeroom teacher and 22 other students. Before pulling the trigger, the boy told Kayla, "I don't like you." That same morning, Owens had threatened to kill his uncle's children at home. Weeks before the incident, the boy also stabbed another classmate with a pencil. Because children of this age cannot be convicted, even though they intentionally kill people, the district attorney did not charge Owens. Instead, the uncle who owned the gun used in the crime was convicted of manslaughter and imprisoned for 2 years. Buell Primary School closed in 2002 due to a lack of students and financial crisis. It was heavily vandalized in 2005 and finally demolished in 2009. Amarjeet Sada, an 8-year-old boy accused of killing 3 people, is the youngest serial killer in history. In January 2007, a mother in a small village in India forgot her 6-month-old baby at a local elementary school. Sada took the baby to a nearby field, placed it on the grass, and hit the baby on the head with a brick, then covered the body with grass and dry leaves. Family members asserted that Amarjeet did the same thing to his 1-year-old cousin and his 6-month-old sister. They reported it to the police, and the boy confessed to everything. Shamsad Hussain, a psychoanalyst, told reporters that Sada might be an excitable person with a tendency to harm others. Because he's too young, Sada is not subject to the penalty framework for true crime under Indian law. What happened during his trial and detention is completely confidential, so no one really knows what happened to Amarjeet Sada. Joseph's father's name is Jeffrey, was a man who often beat his wife and children. On May 1, 2011, at 4 a.m., Joseph took his father's magnum gun, pointed it at his father's ear, and shot him dead. The boy confessed, "I'm tired of being abused by my father cruelly." He was worried that his father would not die from the shot and would return to finish him off. According to Joseph's grandmother, the boy is extremely unintelligent and cruel, having been expelled from many schools for attacking teachers and even almost strangling a teacher with a landline phone cord. Joseph's shooting skills were taught by his father. How ironic that Jeffrey taught his son a skill that was later used by the boy to kill him. In 2013, Joseph was convicted of murder and will have to stay in a re-education camp until he is 23 years old. Lionel Alexander Tate, born January 30, 1987, is the youngest murderer to receive a life sentence. On July 28, 1999, Tate was alone with 6-year-old Tiffany Unick, a child being watched by Tate's mother, Mrs. Kathleen. While Kathleen was upstairs, about 45 minutes later, Tate went upstairs to tell his mother that Unick was no longer breathing. The girl's body and head were covered in bruises, described as similar to those caused by high-speed traffic accidents. During the trial, Tate received a life sentence. Judge Joel T. Lazarus said the actions of Lionel Tate were not simply the innocence of a child. These actions were filled with coldness, unspeakable evil, and brutality. In 1993, James Bulger, a 3-year-old boy, was waiting for his mother outside a store in a shopping mall. However, James was lured away by John and Robert when his mother wasn't paying attention. All 3 walked along the same canal. At that time, about 40 witnesses saw it, but they simply thought James was the youngest brother who was traveling with his 2 older brothers. Then, the 2 10-year-old murderers raped and killed James in a secluded place. They pushed James's body onto the tracks and covered it with rocks. James was then run over by a train. 2 days later, the boy's body was found. John and Robert had to go to court, and according to the Personality Reform Program, both were released from the institution in 2001, although this has encountered much opposition from public opinion. The motives of both are still unknown to this day, but public opinion thinks that maybe they have been influenced too much by violent movies. The video ends here. What do you think about the cases? Regarding the child murderers mentioned above, will they change and become better people, or is it difficult for nature to change, and we must accept that some children are inherently evil? This video is just a collection of brutal cases where the perpetrators are children. I will definitely make more videos in the future. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. For now, goodbye and see you again.